Hi. Things look a little bit different because I'm trying something different. I'm actually starting a podcast called, I don't know, it sounds kind of silly, but like it's kind of cute. And I wanted to do a horror podcast for a long time. I've named it Horror Mom because I like horror and I'm a mom. At first, I was going to do a classic horror only podcast, and I was literally going to name it Classic Horror Only. But I am actually getting back into all things horror, even new horror. Like, for example, we are here today talking about the new Hellraiser movie on Hulu. So I've named it Horror Mom. And this is the first episode because last night or yesterday, the new Hellraiser movie came out and I watched it last night. I want to talk about it. So I thought it would make the perfect first episode for Horror Mom. Okay. And this probably won't be as long as my normal episodes will be because on the classic movies, I feel like I'll have more time to really delve in, get more information. And speaking of Hellraiser, I almost said speaking of Hulu. Speaking of Hellraiser, I really want to get into the books, things beyond just the one or two original movies that I saw, because apparently there's a lot to it. And there are people that are huge fans of this that were talking about how this new Hellraiser movie was supposed to be more true to the source material. And so I want to kind of delve into all of that. So there will most likely be more Hellraiser episodes, and those episodes will be longer. I know a lot of people that listen to podcasts prefer longer form videos, episodes, whatever. So I have a YouTube channel called Alexandra Matthews. I'm going to be uploading this video. Pretty much, this will probably come up before the podcast episode will, only because it's a new podcast and I can't put it on podcasting platforms without first making a first episode. And then I think that there's a delay when you are kind of like applying to get on these platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. So you'll probably see it on YouTube first, but after that, going forward, you can watch either or. If you would rather watch the video, you can do that. Or if you just want to listen, you can listen to the podcast format. And I also have another podcast. That was my first podcast that I've only done 2 episodes of so far. I started it at the beginning of 2022. But we moved states and I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like, I've just been busy. So I didn't abandon it, but I put pause on it. But I'm coming back with that one too, because I watched a new Dahmer documentary called Dahmer Tapes on Netflix. And so I'm going to be recording that after this, and then same situation. I'm going to upload it to YouTube, upload it to podcast. And I also have, if you want to check out the Instagrams for both, it's Beyond Unsolved, Horror Mom, all the same name across the board. So that's what I'm doing. We'll get into the new Hellraiser movie. So first of all, when I heard this was coming out, I thought it was going to be a show, because I feel like lately the trend has been when people reboot old 80s shows like horror, like Chucky, he got a TV show, and they've done some other ones. I can't think of right off the top of my head, but I feel like the streaming platforms, the TV show format has been most popular lately. So I was anticipating that. And I forget the guy's name that did this. Yeah, I don't remember. I'm not good with names, but he did Night House, which I cannot say enough good things about. I love that movie. It's very rare that a new movie or TV show comes out that I instantly fall in love with and instantly becomes a favorite that I could watch over and over. But Night House was so good. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. And actually, I did a review on it on my YouTube channel, but I don't know. I feel like maybe as I watch the movie more and more, I can do another more in-depth episode for my podcast. I don't know if I could really put that YouTube video, like the audio from it, on my podcast. The audio would probably be pretty bad. I'm using a microphone, so hopefully this audio is okay. But anyway, that person who did Night House did Hellraiser on Hulu, and so I was really looking forward to this. And I would say I wasn't disappointed. And I feel like these days with, I don't know, like how easy it is to watch anything at any time. You have everything at your fingertips. So many people are creating things. So many creative minds that to really blow me out of the water is hard, but it's probably like that for most people. So I liked it. I was going to say it didn't blow me out of the water, but I'm trying to think of what could have happened to really make it go that extra mile for me. But I thought the cast was okay. I don't know. It was good. And honestly, I loved the ending. And for me, the ending ties everything together. If a movie was good right up until the ending, and then the ending is bad, the whole thing is bad as far as I'm concerned. Like when I went to go see Men, it was a very visually stunning movie. The actress was great. But then you get to the end and it lost me. And some people love this movie, some people hate this movie. I didn't like it because the ending was bad. So in Hellraiser, I really liked the ending. And so, like I said earlier, a lot of people were saying that this is more true to the books. And I guess the Cenobites, like the main Cenobite, Pinhead, maybe they go by a different name, I'm not sure. But apparently in the books, Pinhead has more of a androgynous look and sound, whereas the original Pinhead was a man, sounded like a man. I really liked the Cenobites in this movie were just as messed up looking and similar to the 80s Cenobites from what I remember. And then this Pinhead is more female or androgynous, which apparently is true to the books. And the voice is kind of unsettling. It's very, I really liked the voice. And I guess the voice is supposed to be a little bit more higher pitched. And so I liked it. And basically the movie centers around this I'll give the spoiler-free kind of version and then like maybe what I rate it and then go into the spoilers and kind of discussing more things more of my thoughts about it, I think. So the movie centers around this woman named Riley. She has a lot of problems. She has addiction issues. She lives with her brother and he's always kind of trying to help her fix her life. There's a guy who is really into collecting all things occult. So the movie starts out with you kind of being reintroduced or introduced to the puzzle box. And the movie starts out 6 years prior to us meeting Riley. And then we kind of see how Riley gets a hold of the puzzle box and why she kind of gets sucked into that. And kind of her journey to getting what she wants out of the puzzle box. And ultimately what she learns and what does happen in the end. Is she safe? Do the Cenobites take her, you know? So it's really centers around her and her issues and her trying to figure out what this puzzle box is. And then in the end, how everybody kind of ends up, you know, like who's left. If I had to rate the movie, I would give it a B-. I feel like a C. I gave Hocus Pocus 2 a B- too. I feel like a C would be too low because I did like it, but I wouldn't rewatch it. I didn't think it was that amazing. And a B or a B plus is too high. So it just goes on like my feel, my gut feeling of it. So I think a B plus is pretty solid. I would say definitely check it out. I would recommend that anybody would check it out. It's a nice looking movie. There are some really good visuals that they throw in there, which reminds me a lot of these kinds of movies. You know, it's the sex and the violence is not too graphic. When there is something that could be really graphic, like the Cenobite scenes where they take somebody, it's really quick. So you get a little bit of that for people that love the sex and the gore. You do get that, but for anybody that doesn't really want that to be the focus and is kind of turned off or squeamish about it, it's really quick. And you know, if you're going to watch a Hellraiser movie, it's going to have that in it. Otherwise, you don't need to be watching it. Right. So that is it for the spoiler free. If you've seen it or want to hear the spoilers, then keep listening or keep watching. So the movie, it starts out with a woman buying a box for her boss. So this woman works for the occult art collector, and he has a house in the Berkshires, in Berkshire, Massachusetts. There's this big, what appears to be an orgy happening. The woman who buys the box, by the way, her name is Serena. So she gets this guy at the bar to come back to the occult collector, whose name is Voight. So Voight gets him in this room, locks him in, and gives him the puzzle box and tells him that if he solves the box, then he, Voight, gets a prize. So the guy is messing with the box. And the thing about the box, which I didn't realize, I'm sure it was like this in the original movies, but I, as a child, had no idea what the hell was going on. I was just watching, but not comprehending. But the box will cut you, and then when you get your blood on it, the Cenobites come and they take you. So that is what happens to this guy. Cenobites come, take him away. Then we cut to 6 years later. We meet Riley. She is boning her boyfriend, Trevor, and in her apartment that she shares with her brother. Comes out, everybody hears her, and they're none too thrilled because she meets this guy in Alcoholics Anonymous, I think. But more than that, he's kind of into shady dealings. So Trevor, gets Riley to go and steal this box because she has to pay next month's rent. Her brother's giving her crap about it. So Trevor gets her to go to this warehouse that he knows about to rob the place, basically, so that they can split the money. She can make her rent. And she's like, cool, fine. That's what we'll do. When she goes back to her apartment, she's drunk. Her brother kicks her out, and I don't know. I assume this is New York City. Actually, I don't recall where this takes place, but it's like in a city. She has a fight with her brother. He kicks her out. She leaves that night while she's drunk. Never a good idea. And her car is parked on the street. She goes to her car. You think she's going to sleep inside of her car, but then she takes some pills and walks over to this playground. Playgrounds at night are creepy as fuck. And I never lived in New York, but I lived in Seattle for 5 years. In downtown Seattle, I lived there for almost 3. And I wouldn't be going to any kind of a park or playground in downtown Seattle at night. Yeah. But she sits in this merry-go-round, passes out, has visions, and then her brother, worried about her, goes to find her. And when he does, he thinks she is OD'd because she's passed out. So he takes the box from her, and while he's holding it, the box cuts him. She kind of comes to, and he's like, okay, don't fall asleep. And he walks into this bathroom to wash his hand. And you know the drill. He got his blood in the box. He's in there washing his hands. His vision goes a little bit blurry. That's how you know they're coming. And then you hear like a dinging too, kind of like, interesting. Kind of reminds me of when I watched, and I don't know, did this happen again? Did this happen in the original Hellraiser where you would hear the like clock chiming or something? Because now, having watched Stranger Things not too long ago, that was one of the signs that Vecna was coming, which is kind of interesting. So, Cenobites come and take Max, what's his name? Matt, away. And Riley is like, she has to figure out what this box is because she's got to get her brother back. So she goes back to Trevor's house, takes to the internet, you know, as we all would, to figure out what the fuck. And she realizes that there's somebody that can help her. She finds Serena, which this scene just, I feel like if you are especially, I mean, I have more experience with classic horror movies than I do with new horror. So I don't know if this is like super common with new movies, but I feel like in so many old horror movies, there's, you know, this problem, whether it be a creature or an object or a curse or whatever it is, when someone new comes upon it and they don't know what's going on, there's always at least one person left from, you know, who got fucked up from it before. And they're usually in a hospital, a nursing home, a mental institution. Like I remember Leprechaun. Does anybody remember Leprechaun? I need to do an episode on that. Oh my God, it's so good. I saw some of the sequels, but that first one, O'Grady, the guy who put Leprechaun in the crate, you know, the new people that have the house let him out of the crate accidentally. And I think he's like in a home and they go see him there. And so anyways, it reminded me of that, but there's other movies that kind of do the same thing. So it felt like it harkened back to that a little bit. But Serena is there. She has lung cancer, I think. And this is 6 years after. So like after the beginning of the movie, you know, when we see the box for the first time with Voight, she's dying. And what's really weird about it is, I guess she would rather die by letting the Cenobites take her than dying a slow death of, I'm assuming lung cancer is a slow death. I don't know. But instead of dying by lung cancer, it seems, because she grabs the box and it cuts her, and she says that she knew what she was doing. But I mean, I guess any kind of death is not pleasant. I mean, nobody really wants to die. But why would you? It seems like death by Cenobite would be like the worst. I mean, you literally get torn apart. You know? Yeah. Pretty much any other way would be perfect. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't want that. And I'm also wondering, okay, so I'm wondering if she actually got turned into a Cenobite, because towards the end of the movie, one of the Cenobites is wheezing. I'm wondering if that's her. Because when you see her in the hospital, she's wheezing because she has lung cancer. So, did she get turned into a Cenobite? Because I don't think that everybody that gets taken by the Cenobites turns into a Cenobite. And when I say Cenobite, it makes me think of Cinnabon Delights. I don't know why. Cenobite? I think it's because side note, when those Cinnabon Delights, when I started getting them from Taco Bell, I called them Cinnabites because I thought that's what they were called, but they're called Cinnabon Delights. So now when I say Cinnabites, I think of Cinnabon Delights. I'm probably the only one. That's fine. Okay, so yeah, I wonder if she's a Cenobite. But Riley figures out that she should go to Voight's old house. Just, I guess, she thinks it'll help her. So she goes. Her friends come to help her. They come in, she's screaming, they're there to help. What she was seeing was Matt. And she goes to hug him and realizes his back has been skinned. Yeah. So that's why she's screaming when her friends come in. But when she's in this one room, you can see like the doors and the roof kind of move like a puzzle box. And then you find out later in the movie that actually it's this fortress that keeps the Cenobites out. So this guy was like real deep, Voight was real deep in that puzzle box. And then you realize that Voight has actually been living in the walls of the house. And I got questions. How is he living in the walls of the house for 6 years? Does he eat? Because when Riley was doing research on him, the articles were just saying that he was missing. Like, he just up and vanished. Nobody knew where he was. And he appeared to be the only one in the house. And Serena was in the hospital dying from lung cancer. So, but when you see him though, he's not normal. He has something literally through his body, this contraption that is pulling at his nerves that apparently the Cenobites have designed so that he can never go numb from the pain, that it keeps him in constant pain. So I wonder if this contraption is, made him supernatural in a way that he didn't need food to survive. I don't know. 6 years is a long time to be living in the walls of a house. Oh, wait. I think I might know. Because we also realize that Trevor has been working for Voight. So maybe Voight has been bringing him food. I don't know. But actually, so dun. Trevor's a bad guy. You can tell, felt bad about it because Riley really had feelings for him. But he was just all about the money. And so maybe Trevor has been, Voight's little errand boy and been, taking care of him inside the walls, I guess. So the box, or the Cenobites, start killing her friends. And Riley is given a choice to sacrifice herself, let the Cenobites take her, or sacrifice her friends. And for all her problems, she is a good person because she never sacrificed her friends. At one point, when Riley and her friends are kind of backed into a corner with the Cenobites and they're coming for them, she discovers a loophole to the sacrificing rule when one of the Cenobites is trying to get at Trevor, and she actually stabs the Cenobite with the box, and then the Cenobite slowly backs away, and then chains come out and rip the dude apart, just gone. And so she's like, all right, she needed 2 more sacrifices, 1 down, 1 to go. And so she and her friends decide to lure one of them into the house, which that kind of was weird because if they're not allowed to come inside, how did she get it inside? I mean, she went outside and then backed her way into the house, and the Cenobite followed her in. But prior to that, yes, their doors were closed, but the Cenobites were just sitting outside waiting for them. So they can come in if invited, I guess. I don't know. That was kind of confusing. The contraption that is through Voight's body is called a liminal, which I don't know what that is. But so basically, I guess whoever makes it to the end of the puzzle box, once it reaches its final configuration after, I guess, you sacrificed people to it, you get a wish granted. Like, you have things to choose from. So Voight in the beginning chose pleasure, which I guess is liminal. I'm not sure. But the Cenobites, see, I thought Cenobites were neither good or bad, and they just kind of loved the range of feeling. Like they liked pleasure, they liked pain, they were violent, but like I didn't think that they were good or bad. But Voight tells Riley that the Cenobites, you know, will trick you. If you choose any one of these options, something bad is going to happen to you. Kind of like, is it like a djinn or whatever, a genie? Like, or the leprechaun. Because like back to the leprechaun will grant you a wish, but it'll twist it in a way to just make something horrible happen. Like, for example, I don't remember which Leprechaun sequel this was, but I think this woman, I remember it as a child, and like it made us cackle. This woman wanted a bigger butt. And so the leprechaun was like, okay, I'll give you a bigger butt. And he made her butt get so big that eventually it exploded and killed her. So it's like that. Towards the end of the movie, one of the stunning visuals that I talked about earlier happens where you get this big view of the house and stormy sky, and something huge is coming out of the sky. I don't know. I'm sure it has a name. I don't know what the hell it is, but something big is coming out of the sky and is coming down upon the house. And Voight seemingly, you know, he tells the Cenobites he doesn't want the gift. So they take it out of him and there's a hole inside of him. But then it starts healing up and he's like, oh, great. Like, I have my life back. This thing is out of me. I'm going to be fine. But then, no. This giant chain comes from whatever the hell that is descending upon the house and shoots through him. And the Cenobite is like, you know, you like to dominate. And so we got you. We're going to give you a new gift. So he gets that giant chain through him and taken up in a way. And then Riley's friend Colin is, what are these things called? They're like steel wire around him by one of the Cenobites. And she runs and finds him. And she's like, no, don't take him. And then the Cenobite's like, okay, well, if not him, who are you going to sacrifice? And then she sacrifices Trevor because he did her wrong. And so then the Cenobites are like, all right, Riley, what do you want your gift to be? And all this time, the reason why she goes through all of this is because she wants to get her brother Matt back. But she remembers what Voight told her, and she says, I don't want anything because I know Matt is gone. I can't get him back. And I don't want anything from you. And so Pinhead says, then you're going to live with regret for the rest of your life. And that is going to be your punishment. So the ending of this movie that really made the movie for me, it tied it together, it ended it really well, is Voight, who wanted to ultimately dominate. He had all this power, all this money. He was searching for all of these exotic, weird things. And the Cenobites, I guess, saw the Cenobite within him and decided to make him a Cenobite. So the end of the movie is you get to see his transformation into a Cenobite. He's in this really bright realm. I don't know where he is, but it is bright. And he's like, he's gone through some things because he's white and hairless, like white and hairless. And then his skin is just being torn off of him. And he's literally being made, because each Cenobite kind of looks different. And so he was made into his own Cenobite. And that is the ending. So I liked it enough, you know? I feel like with movies, obviously, you have to have a really good cast, really good writing, good visuals, and a good ending. The cast was okay. Some of them were kind of forgettable. I thought Riley was a good lead. Voight was a good villain. The Cenobites were created really well. I think they weren't so different from the 80s version that they kind of stuck with that, but were a little bit different with Pinhead. But it sounds like the new Pinhead is more close to what the original Pinhead should have been. And so I think people are liking that. So it wasn't perfect, but if I think about it, like, what would I have wanted them to do? I don't know. I liked Colin too. I feel like her brother, Matt, and Trevor were forgettable. I feel like they could have been replaced with people that were more interesting to watch. Her roommate, I don't remember seeing a lot of her. She gets taken out pretty early on, so we don't get to spend much time with her. But maybe if those two roles had been with like more, I don't know, better actors, it would have upped the movie a level for me, but I don't think it was bad. I'm curious to see if they'll do sequels. If it does well, I'm sure they will. I'm down to watch some Hellraiser sequels. But if you saw Hellraiser, let me know what you thought about it. If you liked this video or this podcast episode, leave a like on the video, leave a positive review, subscribe. I'm just getting started. I have so many ideas. And now that we're not moving again, hopefully for quite a while, I'm just gonna keep pumping out these episodes because they are so much fun, especially the classic ones. I'm working on another episode of Horror Mom. I'm gonna be doing Puppet Master from 1989. I just watched the movie and I'm making some notes. I'm doing some research about the movie to add some interesting tidbits in there because honestly, with the classic horror, it's cool to talk about the movies themselves and then the books, if there's books to go along with them. But there's always some really interesting things beyond that to find out that I'm always searching for. So I'm kind of in research mode with that. But that is it. Subscribe to the podcast, to the YouTube channel. Check me out on Instagram. And I'll see you in my next video or my next podcast episode.